Today we're speaking with Mark Curtis Little, an award-winning author of 7 novels and one of America's better-known independently published authors. His historical fiction-inspired novels, Faithful Servants, the Collector's Edition, After Obama, Magnificent Redemption, and The Bootlegger's Mistress have earned 5 Next Generation Indie Book Awards, 2 National Indie Excellence Awards, and a Winner's Award from the Independent Press Awards for his current book, The Bootlegger's Mistress. How you doing, Mark?
Doing fantastic, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Let me ask you, what inspired you to write The Bootlegger's Mistress?
Well, I was on a discussion with Isabel Wilkerson, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author who wrote the book, The Warmth of Other Suns, the epic story of America's Great Migration. That was in 2010. It was at Barnes & Noble in New York. And then I was writing at the same time Magnificent Redemption. And I saw how her story, even though it was nonfiction, actually mirrored what I was talking about in my book, Magnificent Redemption. Second part of it, when I wrote Faithful Servants. Faithful Servants was sort of, well, actually, it was a step up in the historical fiction category from Magnificent Redemption. And then the third thing that really hit me about the Great Migration, which really moved the needle to another point, was when my wife did a presentation at Newark Library in 2018 about her family's relationship to the Great Migration. And I got so much inspiration from her, watching her do it, thinking about the the things that she talked about in the discussion. And I said, that's what I'm going to do next. And that's what birthed The Bootlegger's Mistress.
Was there anything in your extended family's history that helped you write the book?
Well, much of the narrative that came into being through The Bootlegger's Mistress came from conversations I either had with my aunts and my uncles, my mother, or conversations that I heard about our family's history. And having known the fact that my mother's family left Georgia, I should say, in the mid-1930s, her entire family packed up and went. So they were part of the Great Migration, whereas my dad served in World War II and didn't come up north until late 1946, and he came by himself. So I had 2 versions of the Great Migration, one where an entire family went, and then the other one with my dad, just he leaving South Carolina and going and coming up north. So that's the part of the history that I picked up from the 2 of them. Not much, because they didn't like to talk about some things. Whatever they were, they took to the grave with them. But the much that my mother told me about before she passed on, as I was getting older, she was getting older, helped me with the some of the things in our past that helped me begin the narrative for The Bootlegger's Mistress.
A lot of us have no idea about our past families. How did you happen to find out about yours?
Well, some of the people, the names that I heard from my mother's past, both in our family and some of the friends that she had at our church, Mount Teman AME Church in Elizabeth, New Jersey, helped me to begin to know who these people were. And then I went to Ancestry.com and put many of the names in there and found some background that helped me with the narration of The Bootlegger's Mistress. So Ancestry.com was a godsend in helping me to move forward through The Bootlegger's Mistress.
Once you started looking, what did you find that was positive, negative, affirmative, and in between about your family?
Sounds like a Johnny Mercer song. There was the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in writing novels, a good novel has the good, the bad, and the ugly, and those things in between all that. And so what happened was that I found that I would have to start out with the ugly. And one of the ugly was the character Tommy Joe Butler, who was a bad, bad man. And then we got to the bad part, which he was, of course, part of that. But there were some other people who were bad in the book. And then the good part. And what I was able to do was take the good, the bad, the ugly, those things in between, and merge them into a novel that was readable, and also being able to to satisfy the people who had been with me from day one, from my very first book, and they followed me all the way through to this book, my 7th book.
Well, since your family informed a lot of this, did you ever get any blowback or anybody recognize themselves in any of the characters?
They claimed there were some people they recognized. I don't know about all that. But in general, a good novelist will take any character that he or she has in her book or books, and you're going to find that even though the characters themselves have personalities and other peccadillos, you may have 2 or 3 or 4 different people as a composite in different characters. So, say for instance, Dicey Kaufman, she may be 3 or 4 people I knew in her one character. The same with her alter ego, who was Carrie Lacey. She might have been 3 or 4 people that I knew as a composite in her character. So, in my family, I'm quite sure some people might have said, "That's me. That's my cousin, that's Mark's sister, that's Mark's brother," but it possibly could have been a composite of many people in those characters that came from my family.
All right, why did you set the book in African-American historical fiction? Why not make it nonfiction?
Well, as you know, I'm a novelist. I've written, this was my 7th novel. I find writing novels is the road easily traveled. And I say that with tongue in cheek, because writing a novel is not easy, but you don't have to go through all of the ups and downs and all the red tape and making sure that you're not plagiarizing somebody. And you can plagiarize somebody in a novel, don't get me wrong. But in a nonfiction book, you're going by a set of rules that, at least to my mind, you're going through a set of rules that you have to follow in writing nonfiction. In fiction, you can let it fly, but let it fly and make sure that you're staying within the legalese of writing any book.
Why did you pick the title The Bootlegger's Mistress?
Well, bootlegging at the time that the time period that the book was written in was part of the American fabric, but also in the North and the South. In the South, they bootlegged moonshine, which was illegal to brew and to also sell. But what happened was that many of the black characters, some of them didn't, especially the males, did not want to do menial work. So they found a way to work for the white guys and not work. Well, they worked hard. I mean, they broke the law. They had to stay. They ran afoul of the law, but they were able to make a nice living under the table by helping with bootleggers. The bootlegger happened to be a white guy who was, I said a few minutes ago, Tommy Joe Butler. Tommy Joe Butler was a bad man. And Carrie Lacey, who was the young person in the book who ended up being Dicey Kaufman, she worked for him, was somewhat provocative. But the title, The Bootlegger's Mistress, it would make somebody think, what is a bootlegger's mistress?